Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. I'm going to jump right into it. And for one, it's snowing again. So that's happening. And there's, I guess, some more coming this weekend. So as predicted, this entire winter has been the first winter in a long time that has been almost exact to all the weather predictions. Every weather service and weather outlet, right down to the Farmer's Almanac prediction, was dead on this year. So that's happening. So we're not done with winter yet, not quite yet. Tuesday's City Council meeting, Tuesday the 8th. So that was interesting, to say the least. And there was quite a few things being discussed. There was an update from Andy Camby, who is the director for our health department, just on where we are with COVID. It's hard to understand him. His presentation, he doesn't quite have it yet. I think it might be nerves, maybe just new to that experience of getting up and having, and you're on TV also. But anyway, overall, COVID numbers, as everyone knows, is better. Everything's looking good there. The other big thing they were talking about was, and Andy was involved in that conversation also, was clearing sidewalks. Now, many of you know I had plans to have a whole team of volunteers I wanted to put together to do sidewalk clearing this season. Unfortunately, in November, my father fell and everything went bad. So my whole winter got screwed up, but that was my plan. I know that that's been a huge issue. There's a lot of seniors, a lot of disabled folks in the community that can't do it. They get housebound because they can't get out and go where they need to go. And, the city now, they're going to start enforcing the fining, or maybe they already are, I don't know. But, and then a lot of people are also complaining that the city is not taking care of their sidewalks. So what happens there? What are the repercussions for that? And that was briefly touched on, and some of the counselors did acknowledge that has been happening and they need to do better. And so they discussed that. They discussed a warning system for it. I'm going to put together a volunteer group anyway for next year. I know this year is pretty much done, but next year I'm going to follow through with that. I just think that can be an easy problem, or a problem that's easily fixed, just through volunteers and just coming together as a community. Our city government here isn't big on volunteers or engaging with that. They're not big on public engagement. So anyway, the next big topic at that meeting was the water and sewer rate hikes that were proposed, because again, we're talking all the work that has to be done, the wastewater treatment plant, the $74 million price tag that during the last mayoral election, at the last mayoral debate, Mayor Tyre came out with this huge surprise to everyone. Guess what? That's not going to be $74 million. I found a way to get it all the way down to $50 million. And then like a year later, right before COVID, I think, we hear at one of the council meetings from our finance director, Matt Kerwood, well, that's not accurate. It's actually between 60 and 64 million. Now I think it's back to 74 million. I'm not sure where we're at on that, but they passed the rate hikes. And that was an interesting conversation. And it passed. Patrick Cavey, the Ward 5 city councilor, was not there. It passed 6-4. 6 in favor were Peter Marchetti, Pete White, Dina Lampiazzi, Kevin Sherman, Earl Persip, and who am I forgetting? Oh, and Jim Conant. They were all in favor of it, so your taxes, your rates, are going up along with the rest of your taxes. You're getting hit with that now at 10%, 10% on your water, 12% on your, something like that, 10 and 12%. 10% on water, 12 on sewer over the next 2 years. So the hikes passed. So anyway, the ones against, it was interesting. There was a good point that Karen Kalinowski made that I'm going to expand on a little bit, but because I've talked about this before. And Pete White, who is the vice president of the city council, and I like Pete on a personal level. and this isn't personal, but Pete has a habit always of saying things like, well, it's happening over there, and if that's what the professionals say, and we're elected to make the tough decisions. And Karen Kalinowski brought up a good point at that last meeting because she voted against these rate hikes. Charles Cronick did a ton of work, and you can tell he's gung-ho as a city councilor. And that was kind of squashed. Peter Marchetti ended up silencing him on that. And I kind of get why. It was a yes or no vote on the rate hikes, and maybe that wasn't the time and place for him to make the presentation he was, but he worked constantly on this right up literally till the meeting started, and had this proposal to the mayor of how she could use a couple million from the ARPA funds just to ensure that we wouldn't see rate hikes for the next few years and ease our way into this, rather than hitting the taxpayers with all this at a time when the world is upside down. Inflation in this country is ridiculous. Fuel costs are getting out of control, and everybody's getting hit with more taxes and more fees and more rates. And so he had this plan, and Mayor Tyre, she was very nice about it. It wasn't like her and former councilor Chris Connell or Kevin Morandi. She was very nice about it and said, I appreciate all the work you put into it, but we like our plan. So that was that. But anyway, Karen Kalinowski had said, when Pete White again said, we're elected to make the tough decisions, Karen Kalinowski, finally, have had a counselor speak up and say, no, you are not. Which I've been saying this for years. They're not elected to make tough decisions. That's not what you're there for. You're elected to come up with the best solutions to tough problems. Anybody can say, well, what's going to be the hardest thing we can do? We're going to have to raise everyone's rates. That's a tough decision, but somebody's got to do it. I mean, that's the easy route out on anything. We have this habit here of kicking these things down the road. The water and sewer thing we've been talking about for years. But it gets touched on and then dropped. I was excited to see the work that Charles Cronick, our Ward 2 counselor, was putting into it. But this will happen again. We've got big things coming up. We've got trash coming up. There's got to be some kind of solution for that. And you're going to hear that we've been kicking this can down the road for far too long. And that's going to be a reason for pushing something through. Where is the proactive work? Is it being worked on now? Are there proposals? Is the community being engaged? Are we discussing it? Why not? Why do we pick that ball up and drop it, and pick it up and drop it, and pick it up and drop it? And that's what we did with the wastewater treatment plant, and this whole situation that just caused another rate hike. We kicked that can down the road for so long that this is where we ended up going. So, yeah, I applaud Karen Kalinowski for saying that, no, we're not elected to make tough decisions. We're elected to make smart decisions for tough problems. That's what you want to see in a city councilor. That's why retired counselors or self-employed counselors are the best city councilors, because it's minimal pay, $8,000 a year, for a full-time work. If you want to be a successful city councilor, it's a full-time job. You can't use the excuse that you have a full-time job, a family, or this or that. Don't run for counselor then, if that's a problem. But I don't know. I was disappointed to see how it went, but now I think you're going to see that 6-4 swing on everything. You haven't established, those cliques are still there. And it's not a personal attack on anybody, but you can clearly see that the cliques are still there, except now it's 4-6. So people need to start paying attention. There's elections coming up next year. And you'll hear how experience matters and this and that. Well, don't always buy that. We're seeing on the world stage right now somebody who was laughed at because they were a B-list actor who did Ukraine's version of Dancing with the Stars. And next thing you know, he becomes president of his country and now is a international figure for his heroic courage for the fight he's in. So don't always let people tell you that you have to be an established politician or part of an established system to make change. Sometimes it's much better if you're not. But anyway, that is it for now. A lot of stuff going on. I'm going to try to get a haircut this week. I'm saving up for it. It's either that or 3 more gallons of gas. But that is it for now, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow.